Howdy tubers, welcome back to the Zach Life. So this episode we're going to work on the engine that's in this truck. It's a 1693. If I did a video that's kind of neat, is sort of about its legacy, some of the things that make it cool, some of the unusual things about it, and I'll put a link to that video if you'd like to watch it. It's pretty neat. I think it kind of describes the era of trucking that was the what I call the golden era of trucking. But anyway, this is just about working on it. What I'm going to do is I want to pull the valve cover off. If the valve cover's off, it needs a valves check, the valve lash set, and the glow plugs don't work. I got a set of glow plug harness. I got a glow plug harness and a set of glow plugs from Caterpillar. And so hopefully whatever is not working under there, that should take care of it. It's been really windy. The wind's starting to lay down a little bit. It's pretty cool. We got a cold front come in. It's supposed to be really cold tomorrow, or it's supposed to be in the 40s and windy, not necessarily that cold. And anyway, try to get this done today. But anyway, hopefully the wind's not too bad in the camera. Obviously the hood's open because I got to work on it. Maybe that'll block the wind. If not, I'll have to do some voiceover. But let's get after it. This thing only had 2 bolts in this. I didn't realize till right now. You know, it's never made good manifold boosted. It may be because it had a big boost leak there. There's a bolt twisted off here. This may be a little bigger project than I was anticipating.
Ready to come off here.
So the main point to this was the glow plug harness, and I'm not sure if you can tell, but this rail here is actually what the wires are supposed to go through. They've cut all the wires off of this, and then there's 4 new wires here. It looks like it's been shorted and chicken fried, along with a short there. And they got 1 wire that went down here that's not hooked up. And then there's 1 glow plug hooked up there. Golly, something else. I'm glad I ordered a glow plug harness. I didn't expect to need it, but I guess I do. It's kind of interesting. This is what came out of it. I'm sure this is an old number. It's, if you're interested, it's a W150 GE made by General Electric. These don't have anything stamped in them, but these numbers are a ATE 151-620. Anyway, these are genuine cat. They came from Caterpillar. I'm sure they made them in China and they sell them top dollar. But they're quite different. They're obviously quite different lengths. But it looks to me like the thread to the where they seal here is the same. These are just going to stick up much farther out of the pre-combustion chamber. All right, these are supposed to torque to 120 foot-pounds, 20 inch pounds, not foot-pounds. Okay, so the next thing we got to do is set the overhead on this thing, or specifically the valve clearance. So I've got a feeler gauge here. You can't read the numbers or if I had to measure them with a mic. I guess you can read that one. Anyway, it's 11 thousandths and 18 thousandths. The clearance is supposed to be 18 thousandths on the intake and 30 on the exhaust. The exhaust typically has got more clearance because when you run it under load, the exhaust valves get hotter and they grow and take up some of that clearance. But anyway, what I'm measuring here, I'm not sure exactly how well you can see, but it's the gap that's between the cam lobe and the lifter. The lifter's right there. And so what we'll have to do is we'll have to rotate the engine a couple of times to get all these set, but you'll want to set, you got to measure it when the cam is on its base circle. So like here's the base circle and here would be the lobe. Obviously if the lobe is pointing down and touching the lifter, there won't be any gap. And so I'm gonna say, as long as you can measure, as long as the lobe is pointing either side to side or upward in any way. If it's pointing slightly down in any way like this one, that's going to be too close. So anyway, we'll start checking these. So we've got an 18 thousandths here. This is the intake cam, this is the exhaust cam. This works a lot better with a bent feeler gauge, and I don't have one in front of me right here, so we just got to sort of fumble around. Ooh, that one's tight. Well, it went. It's not actually that tight. I fumble with my words here, and what I meant to say is the feeler gauge fit tight. When this is set correctly, you'll have a moderate drag on the feeler gauge, but if the feeler gauge will go, it's not all that much off. It's within 1/1000th. And what I was trying to say was the feeler gauge fit tight, but the valve clearance was probably not too tight. And I kind of jumbled up trying to say that on the video. All right, those are too loose. All right, you get to see me set it. To set the valve lash on this, you'll take the lifter and spin the lifter until this hole lines up towards the center of the engine. And then you'll take a good, really high quality Harbor Freight Phillips #2 screwdriver and stick down in the hole, and there's actually a gear tooth in here that you'll be able to get in here and turn. And to show you what we're looking at, the tooth looks like this. Can you see that? Can you see in there? And so what we're doing is, when we're putting the screwdriver in it, we're engaging. Sorry about my terrible. Oh, I can pick the light up. Look at there. So anyway, when you stick the screwdriver in it, you're engaging into that little star wheel. And I don't have another hand, or I would turn the screwdriver. And anyway, the little star wheel is threaded, and it screws in or out. And that's how you set the valve lash. Now there's actually 2 holes on these, I think. Yeah, this side has got, I think that's where you put a spring or something in it. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, you do. You slide the spring and it's got a ball all the way through it. Anyway, when you got to stick your screwdriver in the hole that's sort of slotted up. Anyway, this square-headed screwdriver may not work that well. We'll simply give it a couple of turns and see where we're at. I think clockwise of the screwdriver takes up lash, but I am not certain. It feels like it might be going the wrong way. Definitely. Alright, that's a little bit too far. If you'll remember, this is actually 29 thousandths and we're looking for 30. It feels like 29. We'll add a 2.5 thousandths to the top there. And it actually did go, so. All right, that's about 30. All right, that cylinder feels good. That's probably about 19, but I think I'll leave it. All right, so I've got to roll the engine over and go get me a Sharpie and actually mark all these as I go. It's kind of a pain to move the camera around. I'm gonna get the overhead done, then I'll catch you back when we start back together with it. I'm really not sure which direction this thing goes on here. It's kind of what I was looking at. Another thing that seems unusual, I'm not sure how many amps these glow plugs pull, but they're probably quite a few a piece. And the main wire back here is only like number 12. Okay, this tube here, I don't know if I've said, is what delivers oil to these, I'm not sure what you call these, the cam bearing things, things that hold the cam bearings. And anyway, they've got supposed to have a flat steel washer that goes under that. That's supposed to help this seal. I guess they go like this, and I absolutely am not sure, but that's the only way it looks to me like that they would stay. Stay completely out of the way of the cams. Okay, and then the main wire here just comes back and goes to this stud. So over right here, I'm gonna see if I can get this bolt out. I don't know. It looks like the bolt head has been ground off. It's not twisted off. I'm not sure what that could possibly mean. See if we can take a miniature pipe wrench and get it out. Oh golly. Well, it was about to twist off. I wonder if that other place that didn't have a bolt in it, I don't remember which hole it was, has got a twisted off bolt. Now, for some stupid reason, this cat has got two holes in the valve cover that's slotted. And so if you don't daub a bunch of silicone in there, crap can get down in that hole and stick the bolt. I'd like to know what the engineer's thought behind that was, because you know that there was a meeting at Caterpillar in the 60s, and they were like, hey, there's two holes in this valve cover that I think we need to spend a little bit more money on here and slot. And for whatever reason they did. I don't know, it'd be neat to hear why. So I know this video was terribly put together. I didn't plan on it ended up being after dark when I put this thing back together. It was real windy yesterday. There was a cold front blowing in. It's colder today and it's windy today. And my plan was to wait, because the wind was supposed to lay down like at 4 or 5 o'clock, and I wanted to start this about 3:30 or 4, and so it wouldn't be as windy in the camera, and then be done by dark. And anyway, I got tied up. I had several people come over. I had a bunch of phone calls. I was dealing with some legal stuff, and that went on till almost dark, and so it made all the video happen after dark. Anyway, when I got it to the point, I put the vacuum cover back on it. I was sick of dealing with the camera. The wind started picking up, and I wanted to get it all put together so I could get the hood shut on the truck and just be done with it, because it's going to be cold this morning, and the wind's supposed to blow all night, and I didn't want to leave the hood open on the truck or open and shut it even when I had to or whatnot. Anyway, that's kind of why it was such a mess yesterday. So to sort of change gears here a little bit, I'd like to play with a glow plug. So I had this glow plug in my toolbox. I actually had a couple of them. They've been in there for years. I used to do a lot of mechanic work, and I had a company that ran several big cats, 353s, 379s, 389s. And anyway, this is a glow plug that fits them. This is a glow plug that come out of that 1693, and I have since figured out that this is the same glow plug Cat sold me to put back in there. Now you can tell that the glow plug is more or less the same. You know, the end of it's the same. The part it seals at here is the same distance down, and then the thread start at the same place. But of course, these other glow plugs are just a lot taller. They stick up, which doesn't matter. On a 379, I think that this screws down into the pre-combustion chamber a lot farther. The pre-combustion chamber is deeper, and so you only see about this much. So I guess you can put these glow plugs in a 1693, but you can't put these glow plugs in a big bore. Anyway, these are 24 volt, like the ones I put in the truck, and I'd like to, on camera, just because I think it'd be kind of worth maybe y'all knowing, I would like to hook this up to 24 volts and see if it's actually continuous duty, see if we can burn this thing up, or see if it'll burn up at 24 volts after a minute or so. And if not, we'll turn the voltage up and see actually where it does actually smoke. So I need to get something to set this on. Also, I wanted to know basically how long you actually need to preheat it. I've heard 10 seconds, well, I've heard 15 seconds, 20 seconds, and 30 seconds. And there's some guys like, I don't know if y'all watch JP Dirt, he's one of my favorite YouTubers. He'll just heat them suckers forever. He'll crank the truck up or whatever he's starting, and after it starts, actually turn it back to heat. And he seems to, I don't know, he's talking about replacing glow plugs sometimes, so I don't know. But anyway, let me zing you down here, and we'll hook some juice up to this and see what happens. Okay, so these wires will have a small amount of voltage drop, so I'm going to set this at 24.5 volts, and that'll probably put us about 24 here. I'm going to turn this off. All right, can y'all see my phone there? I'm going to use it as a stopwatch. I'm going to turn this on. Where's the power button? And hit the start button all at the same time. So we're about 7.2 amps. About 7.2. Probably, like I say, this is probably about 24 volts across the glow plug. 20 seconds, it's just starting to glow. "30 seconds is up to full heat. Let's go ahead and let this run a whole minute, see if it survives a minute. I guess my phone just died. I'll be able to look at the camera. I'll read off the time as we go. So I think this has been a couple of minutes. I'm going to say that this thing is probably continuous duty. I want to turn the heat up and let's see, or the voltage I mean. So we're at 1 minute and 42 seconds right now. Let's go to 30 volts. Actually, this thing tops out at 31 volts, so let's just put 31 volts to it. I don't know if it comes through in the camera how hot this is, but that's not as hot, not as bright as a light bulb, but it is extremely bright. That's extremely hot. This is amazing. I thought this would be very easy to burn up, but it is not being. That's 200, this is watts here, 278 watts into that little bitty dinky element. 3 minutes total. Well, I won't call this, I don't think it's going to smoke. It's pretty well stabilized in temperature there. Oh, it did. It just burned up right there. Look. Huh. Well, there's your answer. Well, anyway, looks like 20 seconds minimum. 30 seconds is about all you could possibly need. Anyway, I think at 24 volts, you could run it more or less indefinitely. It's pretty impressive. I should have been paying attention to the wattage at 24 volts and seen how much it went up when we turned it to 30 or 31. But even at 31 volts, whatever the additional wattage input was, it took it a while to smoke. But anyway, I want to call this video. It's supposed to get really cold here in about a week, and I'm wanting to wait. It's supposed to be, I think, in the teens, and I'm going to do a cold start on this and have that video up. If you're watching this video at a later date, not when it first comes out, I'll put a link in the description of that video. Obviously, I can't put the video out. I can't put a link to the video because it doesn't exist yet now, but it'll be there later. But anyway, appreciate you watching. Like, share, subscribe. Oh, my camera died right here, but what I was trying to say is like, share, subscribe. Appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.